Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Welcome to Porchlight Letters podcast number 2264, Storytime with Helen. So I have a story for you. But first, I want to show you something really cool. As I was clearing stuff out today, I came across a Christmas card from 2004. And it was Season's Greetings from Heaven and Earth, Love the Brahms. And on there was a picture. This was Bear. He was born around November of 1980. That says 1989. That wasn't correct. It was 1991. Yeah, 1991 to September 2004. This must have been the one that I did before I did the real one. And then, of course, we adopted Gus here in December of 2004. Well, it says the 5th of December. We actually adopted him on the 4th. So this was my rough copy. I do have a real copy around of the final draft, but this was a draft copy. So this was our card, Greetings from Heaven and Earth. So Bear passed in September, and we adopted Gus in December. Fast forward to 2017. We again had Greetings from Heaven and Earth, where I had Gus and Brad on there. And there was a picture of me down in the middle, I think it was. I'll have to find that one. I was the earth, the other two were the heaven. And guess what? This Christmas is going to be a heaven and earth one as well with Zephy on there. This is going to be another heaven and earth one. But I'm here to tell you a story. And it's probably going to get emotional. So I've got my tissues on hand. So yeah, there'll be a Season's Greeting from Heaven and Earth. With little Zephy on there as the heaven portion. But that brought back a lot of memories about when we got Gus. But then today, I don't know how that's doing that. Oh, that's interesting. Because that link doesn't exist anymore. Interesting. Anyway, so yesterday, I uploaded a whole bunch of stuff to be sold. Nothing's been sold yet. We've had a couple of inquiries, a couple of this. Is this available? Yes, it is. When would you like to come and have a look at it, pick it up? Then crickets. Or you've got this listed for this. Would you take this? No, that's too low, but I'll be willing to take this. Would that be, crickets. So I've had the cricket messages. I hate the cricket messages. If you're not if you're not interested in it, then don't bother asking about it. If you are interested and the price comes back and it's a negotiation. We go backwards and forwards. And at least acknowledge and go, no, that doesn't work for us. Thank you very much. At least respond. Jeepers, I hate that. So last night I put on Zephy's things for to be, because I put up there a notice stating that I didn't know where to donate them. And I had a lot of good feedback. I had a lot of good suggestions. I had people who wanted them for their own dogs. I had people who were dog sitters that wanted it for the dogs that they sit for in their house. I had people for different organizations and everything else. But there was one, and it was the very first response that I had that stuck with me, and was the lady who ended up getting the stuff. And what happened is that by the end of the evening, I had 20 messages, and I even sent a message to my mum. I said, I think I've got myself in trouble here. I've got all these people. They're great organizations that they all work with, and they keep coming back. Mum was like, remove the listing. She said, it was the first thing, remove the listing. I was like, oh, yeah, I can do that. And she says, just go with your gut. She says, you've got this. Just go with your gut. And I was like, okay. Because it was just overwhelming me, the people who had a lot of outpouring. I even had another person named Helen who contacted me just because of my name. She says, "Not, I'm sorry that your pup passed, But she says, I actually wanted to contact you because I don't know very many Helens. And so we started a conversation backwards and forwards, which was kind of cool. And another person just sent me a message of sympathy. She had lost her pups back in May. And so it was just like a sharing thing. And I just got in my head a little too much. So the woman who I ended up going with, so I took so I removed the listing to say it had been sold into this one woman, and her and I had already gone backwards and forwards, and she was actually wanting to come on Monday. Well, Monday just doesn't work for me for pickup tomorrow, because even though it is Columbus Day and we're closed at Mailbox Para, I have got a ton of stuff that needs to get done. And I'm monitoring the chat for the whole day. I'm not actually working on the chat the full day. I am monitoring, which means that like once every 30 minutes, I'll just have it up and open. And when I hear a ding, I'll go check it out. And taking care of what needs to be taken care of. So I'll be monitoring it all day. And so Monday just wasn't going to work for me for her to pick it up. I said, is there any way you can pick it up tomorrow, being Sunday? And she was sort of like, yeah. She says, she's like, I can come in at 9:30 if that's not too early for you. I said, I get up at 5. It's not a problem. So she works for an organization called Barb's Dog Rescue. She helps them, and they are based here in Arizona, but they go into Mexico and help rescue abused dogs in Mexico and bring them back into the States and get them vaccinated, spayed, neutered, all of that sort of stuff, and get them and evaluated and get them ready to go to forever homes here within the States and adopted. That story struck me. And she also works with another one. What was the other one called? Dogs Out and About, I think it's called, or something like that. But the Dogs Out and About is for with homeless people who have dogs as their pets. And so she works with an organization that helps them as well, and including sheltering and all of that sort of thing. Not removing the dog from the homeless person, but helping them with stuff that they need. And so I was struck by the fact that they work with this organization in Mexico. For those that don't know the story of Zeffy, which I was strange because I was telling my mum about this. She goes, I don't remember this. She says, you've never told me this story about Zeffy. So here is the story about Zeffy. I had it for 6 years. My mum didn't even know this story. I thought I told my mum this story. But anyway, so the story is that when I was thinking about getting a dog, and for those that have watched me for a while, you've heard this before. It was June 23rd. Yeah, June 23rd, 2019. I was sitting there and I was doing my Bible study for the morning, and I was in the book of Zephaniah. And I sat there and I went, and I have this all journaled. I sat there and went, Zephaniah, Zephaniah, Zeph. And the moment I went Zeph, this dog's image, appeared in my head. And I looked at it and went, are you Zeph? And it cocked its head as I said, well, what do you think? Why else would I be here? And so I then sat and wrote a page and a half in my journal about this dog called Zeph. I did get a few things wrong. I got the German Shepherd mix correct. I put in my journal that it was going to be a male. It was a female. And I got that she'd be around 70 pounds and she tops out around 45, 50. So I had but everything else I wrote in there about her being the type of travel companion that she was, the type of dog that she was, her nature, everything else that I wrote in that journal came true. But I wrote that in the journal on the 23rd of June, 2019. Fast forward to November 16th, 2019. I'm staying at the KOA in Temecula, which is out in the Wops in the middle of nowhere. It's like 5 miles. It was 5 miles to get into the nearest shopping center. And you didn't get cell phone service out there. No. The only way you could get Wi-Fi service was to be up near the office buildings of the park. And so I would drive up there each evening and sit in my car each evening and do my podcast from the car outside the admin buildings in the dark. The only light that I had, and I tried to park under a street light, and I had my internal lights on. That was my lighting. It was, if you go back to those earlier ones, it was horrible lighting. But I was there for, how long was I there for? About 5 nights, I think it was. So anyway, on the Saturday, I woke up on the Saturday and I thought, right, I need to get some groceries. I need to get some work done. At the shopping center 5 miles down the road was a corner bakery. There was also a Sprouts there. So I thought, well, let me go to that shopping center. I'm going to go to the corner bakery, sit there, have brunch. It was kind of like brunch time. It was a Saturday. It was brunch. And I can get some work done while I sit there and have something to eat. And then when I'm done with that, I can then go across to Sprouts and grab some groceries and come back home. So I went down to the shopping center, went past the entire center. There was I think it was a Shell gas station on the corner, turned at the lights there, turned in beside the Shell gas station, and over here on the right-hand side was a huge PetSmart. And they had the gazebo, what do you call them? The gazebos that are set up, the ones that you unfold, and the little shelter pieces that were set up that you just unfold and there it is. And it's just the roof. You don't have the sides. It's like a tent without sides. I can never remember what they're called. And so something inside me said, go park and check it out. And I was like, I was kind of looking for a dog at that point, but not really. And so I went and parked and I walked up over there and I'm looking through. They had 3 tops set up. And so I went through the first 2 and there was nothing that grabbed my attention. I walked into the 3rd one and here was this gorgeous pup that was sitting there in the back corner trying to look as small. And she was on a top crate because they had crates top and bottom. On a top crate, and she's trying to look as small, as inconspicuous as possible. And she was like in the middle of a row up on the top there. And she was trying to, like I said, look as small and inconspicuous as possible. And she was shaking. And I found out it was her first time there. And I looked at this dog and that picture from my head appeared that I'd seen in June. And that was a match. Those 2 matched up. So I got the person over and asked if I could get the dog out of the crate and sit with it for a bit. I sat out there for 2 hours with her. She managed to escape from every collar or harness they put on. They finally put one harness on that she could not escape from. A little escape artist, my little Zeffy girl. So I came to find out later on. And so I got her out of there, and there was this annoying volunteer. I mean, I understand the volunteer that were there. They love the dogs and all of that. But I'm sitting there trying to make a bond with this dog, and this girl keeps coming up, and Zeffy was standing like about 2 to 3 feet from me. She wouldn't come any closer, and I was trying to entice her over. So this girl comes over. She crouches down away from me, and goes, and Zeffy would start going to her because she was a familiar face. And every time she started doing that, I would go pick Zeffy up and walk her over to some other place. Finally, the other people who were working the booth there realized what was happening and called her over and kept her busy helping clean out the crates and with all of that sort of stuff. So I finally got time to have one-on-one time with Zeffy, and then one of the organizers of the event came over and sat with me while I was sitting there with Zeffy, and we got talking. And I said, "What can you tell me about this dog?" And she was 5 months old. 8.5 months old. Then I was told they pulled out her file, brought it over, and she was 8.5 months old at the time. Up until the age of 5 months, her and her brother had been tied up in a mechanic store in Mexico and were basically abused for the first 5 months of their life. And they were rescued at the age of 5 months. For the last 3.5 months, they had been in 4 foster homes. Some in Mexico while they were waiting to bring them over to the States, and then a couple in the States. And of course, she'd been spayed. Her brother was also up for adoption, but he wasn't at the event because he had just been neutered, and so they were, and so he couldn't be at the event because he still had his stitches in and everything else and was recovering from that. So I didn't get to meet the brother. But so that was her story. She had been rescued from Mexico and brought in. And I asked, what breed is she? And they said, well, we've got written down here that she's a mini German Shepherd. German Shepherd connection, back to the journal thing. Got that part right. Got the sex wrong and got the weight wrong. But that's okay. Everything else worked out perfectly. And so 3 hours later, I get back to my RV, no work done, no groceries, but I have a dog and all of her stuff. And I was absolutely in heaven over the fact of this dog. And so we spent time getting to know each other. I had a crate for her. She was crate trained, so I had a crate for her to sleep in at night. She didn't, but she was very quiet. She was very quiet and just a little aloof. And so I thought, well, let me give her some space. And we went for a walk. You know, we'll go out for a walk and stuff. Had all the new leashes and all this sort of stuff, and got her food set up and her water set up, and let her sniff around the RV. She was completely housebroken too, which was awesome. And she woke me up in the middle of the night, whining and wanting out. Well, this was a Saturday night, and a very Thursday night was a little. Thursday night when I got there Thursday, it was a little scary because I was only one of a handful of RVs in the park, and this place, like I said, in the middle of nowhere, it was dark. There was no street lights in the camping area or anything else. And so this dog wanted out, and I was sort of like, okay. And so I was calling her Zeffy all the time and telling her she was a good girl, and just positive affirmations with her the entire time. And so I went, okay, Zeffy, we're going to go out. And I knew that there were snakes around. I knew there were night critters around. And so we went out, and this is when I started to discover that she would not go to the bathroom within 3 sites of our site. And I said, no, you've got to go. You have to go here. And I would walk her around the RV, and then would hear this rustling. And I go, what was that? And she'd be on alert, looking around, looking at what the direction the noise was, ears up, tail up, on complete alert and checking out things. And so she finally would pee. And we actually got up like twice on the first night. The second night was once. And by the third night, she was good to sleep through the night. So the first 2 nights were a little rough, but that was okay. And then in the day, we would take her around. They did have an off-the-leash area. The problem is that the off-the-leash area was about this deep in leaves because it was fall. So it was about this deep in leaves, and there was signs up all over the place about rattlesnakes being in the area. And I looked at that thing and thought, there is absolutely no way that myself or my dog are going into that thing with about this much leaves, this deep leaves, because you don't know what's in there. And I never saw anybody else taking their dogs in there either. Directly across from us was a 45-foot RV, Class A RV, that had two Great Danes in there. 2 Great Danes. I could hear them barking, and they had these very deep woof, woof. And I'm like, where on earth is that coming from? So when the people got back to their RV, they went inside and came out with these 2 Great Danes and went on a walk with them. And I'm like, okay, I'm in a 32-foot RV, and it's just me and my dog, and she's not that big, but oh my God. They had 2 Great Danes in a 45-foot RV. They would like take over the couch. I'm just sort of like, oh my goodness, that would be a tight squeeze with 2 adults. But anyway, so we got through the weekend, and then on either the Monday or the Tuesday, we went back to PetSmart to Banfield, which is part of PetSmart chain, and got her microchip, checked to make sure she wasn't already microchipped, got her microchipped, got to make sure all the vaccines were updated, and they did the initial exam and all of that to make sure that she was good and healthy and there was nothing wrong with her. Because I had so many days after I had adopted her to get her checked out by a vet to make sure there was nothing medically wrong with her. So we did that. But and so when it came to donating her stuff, and I will tell you, it was hard. It was hard. I had her big bed, the one that used to sit down here on the floor that she would lay in. I had the bed that she had in the car. I had the car seat cover thing. It took me forever to get that thing out of the car. But it got to the point where I had so much stuff to take to Goodwill that I had to take her car seat cover out of the car in order to lay the seats down so I could fill up the car. So that's when that got taken out. And that was 2 weeks ago, last weekend. I think it was last weekend. And then I, of course, had her mountain of toys. Now, I had a small laundry basket that's, about yay high, that was overflowing. And then there was another basket, another little basket next to that was overflowing with toys. So I actually sat down with these 2 baskets and went through them. By the time I had finished, I had a, do I have one in here? I had a 13-gallon trash bag full of the toys that Zeffie had shown a lot of love to. That were not, they had bits torn off. There was stuffing out of them. And so I had this big trash bag full of toys that there was no way that I was going to donate those because of the damage to them. They've been very well loved and played with. And so by the time I finished, I just had this one basket, which was full, not overflowing, but full. And so I had that out in the garage, and then I had all of her dog blankets, and I had an old laundry basket that I'd put all the blankets in there. I'd even thrown the little booties in there that we had that we never used with her. So all of that was together in that basket that went out there. I had the big bed already out there. So all of that stuff got put out there, and I told them all the blankets have been washed and sanitized and all of that sort of stuff. And so I had a nice little pile there for her. So then this morning I was back on Nextdoor and having a look, and there happened to be a post where somebody wanted to, where could they donate? They had towels, they had clothing, they had bed linens that they wanted to donate. They didn't want to give them to Goodwill because Goodwill would just turn around and sell them. And I'm like, but they are a charity raising money for whatever their charity is. But that was beside the point. And this woman who was coming over to pick up Zeffie's stuff responded with, she kept calling it Dog In and Out. But when she sent me to their Facebook page, it was Dog Out and About, or Dogs Out and About, and mentioned that they would take that for them and what their organization was for that. So Zeffie's stuff was going to go to Barb's Dog Rescue, which is a big rescue that helps get abused dogs out of Mexico. And then I saw this post and I was like, hang on, I have this little voice, my little voice back here said, you have some blankets and scarves that you've knitted and done nothing with. And I was sort of like, yeah. And it says, go get them. They're going. I was like, okay. And so I went down to my closet, pulled out this basket, took the stuff off the top of them, and it was about half full. I had in there a couple of blankets that I had knitted but hadn't finished off, like I hadn't sewn in the ends of the threads. And so I said this to her, and she says, don't worry about that. She says, we have people who will go through all the clothing and everything else and will do any minor repairs that need to be done. And I said, there's also scarves in there as well, to help keep people warm and everything. I says, everything in there I've knitted myself. So this just needs to be done on a couple of things that are in there. And then she's like, that's okay, we'll take that. And in there, I also went to my Goodwill pile and pulled out any clothing, any linens that were in there, and threw it in on top of the basket. And the basket was now full to almost overflowing. So I thought, oh, she's about to pull up here, because this was just a few minutes before she was due to arrive. So I came down, looked out the window, and saw her car sitting out front. And so I went into the garage, opened up the door, put the basket down there with that. And so she backed up into the driveway. Thankfully, it wasn't raining. When I woke up, there was a massive thunderstorm overhead, like lightning, thunder, completely overhead when I woke up this morning. So I just laid in bed and listened to all of that rumble away and the rain pouring down. And would love to have gone out and danced in it, but when there's thunder and lightning around, I don't do that. Safety first. So we got that stuff into the car, and we're busy chit-chatting and all of that. And I was telling her that Zeffie was a rescue from Mexico. And so she said, I wonder if it was our organization. I said, I don't know which organization it was with. I said, but when I adopted her, I was in Temecula at the time. And so we got talking and everything else. And all of it, and she's saying about how something about dog food got mentioned. I was sort of like, you got a minute? She says, yep. I says, come with me. And I brought her into the house, went into the kitchen, and I have empty plastic bags from the grocery store. I take my own, but sometimes I forget. And so I was just getting it. And every treat thing that I had a little Zeffie shelf thing. I grabbed the half empty box of dog bags and handed it and says, here, take this. And threw in all the treats, the NuTuber toothpaste that was there, and just basically filled up like a couple of shopping bags full of stuff. And then I went over and grabbed the dog food container that I have, which was full because I just filled it just before Zeffy passed. And I had another bag sitting next to it that had other dog stuff in there, like more toys. There was squeaky balls and a medium crate cover in there and a couple of other bits and pieces. And so I grabbed those up and we took them out and put them in the car as well. So now she had dog food. She had all of Zeffy's treats. She had all of Zeffy's toys, Zeffy's puzzles, Zeffy's blankets, bedding, everything that I had left of Zeffy that I was not taking. There's a couple of pieces that I have kept that I am taking to New Zealand with me, but most of it has gone. It was in her car. Her back trunk is now full because now there's this basket in there that has the hand knitted stuff and the clothing and everything else that I pulled out of the Goodwill pile. Then she mentioned, she was talking about the homeless people that they help, that have and she's talking about sometimes they have new mothers with children coming in and things like that. And I didn't think at the time, but after she left, I found the baby food left over because I got Zeffy chicken and beef baby food to help her eat her food to try and get her blood glucose levels up. And we had gotten that on the Saturday and she passed the Sunday. So I still had, and she'd already eaten one chicken and one beef. And so we still had 11 little jars left. So they are now sitting waiting for the next time that this person comes over because I already have a box full of stuff. I had a half box full of stuff when she left. It is now full. And just anything with bed linens and clothing is all going into this box. There's children's toys in there, soft toys in there, because she mentioned about them having toys. And then she mentioned about seeing some of them walking around with wagons. And I suddenly went, and a little voice in my head went, "Pink wagon." And I was like, "Pink wagon." I says, "Hang on." I says, "Wait a second. I got something else for you." And so I pulled out the pink wagon, put the cover on it and said, "Here you go." Because when it's folded up, it's got a cover that goes on it. And so we put that into her car. So by the time she left her trunk area, and she was driving a Toyota Highlander, her trunk area was full of stuff, not just for the dog show, for the dog rescue, but also for the other charity that she has, where they help the homeless people who have dogs. And then she also had in the back seat area was the pink wagon as well. And she says, "Are you serious about all this?" I said, "There is not a doubt in my mind." And I'm ending up and crying. I got a ton of hugs from her, like really good, real hugs. I got real true hugs. And that was the highlight of my day. One, being able to put Zeffy's stuff to use. Having to say goodbye to her stuff because I knew she would not be using it. But I know that she's going to be happy that all these other dogs are going to benefit from the stuff that we donated today. And like I said, I already have a box that's full. It was already half full. And it wasn't until after she left that a couple of things that she had said clicked. And so now this box is full. So any linens, any clothing that I'm going to get rid of is going into this box. I actually have to start a second box now. And she will get a call next week to come pick that up. And there'll be some baby food in there too. Because she said they dealt with new mums with babies and things like that. So that will be helpful for them. And if the organization doesn't use it, she knows of others that will. So that's my story with Zeffy. And I still have reflection questions for you guys. But it's part of the legacy. What can you do when somebody has passed? And I know with Brad, it took a long time to get his stuff. It took me 18 months after he passed to get the stuff out of the closet. It was hard because every time because the closet had no doors on it, and I'd look at it and go, I am pulling that stuff out of the closet today. And I would walk up to it and I'd put my hand this far, and then my hand would just drop away because I couldn't do it. I got to the point where I could release Zeffy's things. And so then after she had left, I then sat down with my little next door thing. And of course, as soon as I marked it sold, everybody who had responded to the post, it sent the thing saying, "Helen has sold this, Helen has sold this, Helen has sold it," on everything. So I went in and made up a little post, which I just copied and pasted into everyone's thank you person's name for your interest in this. And then just give them a brief story that this is now gone to an organization that rescues dogs from Mexico, and Zeffy was actually a rescue from Mexico. And put just a little brief story and just sent it to everybody. Some of them have replied, some have not. That's okay. I just want them to know that, thank you for your interest. And and the puzzles, that was the other thing that went to, was all the puzzles that she loved. Yeah. There was one that she never fully got the grasp of. It was a stage 3. It was an advanced one. But all the other puzzles that she had there, the other 4, she could get them done in 5 minutes. But there was one that really had a puzzle on her. It had actually drawers on it that she had to get hold of the string and pull it out. But she had to remove the little tower that was holding it locked in place first before you pull the string. And that one puzzled her. And that one I kept giving to her more often than any of the other ones, but she would get frustrated with that thing. She would sit and she'd just start like digging at it. It was hilarious. And sometimes when she was digging, her paw would slip through the little slots and push the drawer out. And she's like, oh, there's treats here. And she'd go and eat those. And then while she was down eating, she could tell there was more treats. And so she would dig at the drawer to pull it out further. So she found her way around things. But that's my story of Zeffy and what's happened with her things. And the woman was so, so grateful. And she's going to send me photos once she drops everything off at the organization. She's going to send me photos of them being delivered to the organization, to the charities. So that's really cool. And then she'll get another phone call from me next week to come pick up another box full of stuff. So there's some great charities out there. And I have to, because I put this with last night's video, when I did last night's podcast, I was talking about some of the troubles that I had and things I had. And then a friend of mine, Jason, said with the tools, he says, just take a photograph of everything. One price, come get it. He says, put a price on it. These are what's included with everything. And I was sort of like, he says, that'll save you a lot of time. And I was like, that's brilliant. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go and pull out all the tools, basically lay them out on the garage floor, walk down it with a video and go, $100, come get it. And do it that way. And I was like, I'm going to do the same with my kitchen stuff. Pull out all the storage containers that I want to get rid of. And I have like a cutlery set or silverware set and dinner plates and stuff that I want to get rid of as well, and glasses and ramekins. And there's a whole bunch of bar stuff as well. And just basically take a video because, well, actually, I've got to take photos as well because Nextdoor doesn't allow you to upload videos, but Facebook Marketplace will let you upload a video up to a minute. So I can take snapshots of the things, do a video down the thing, and then do the same with my kitchen stuff that needs to go and say, here's the price. First one at the door gets it. Or the first one to reply that arrives at my door will get all of this for this price and stick a price on the whole thing. I thought that is so much easier than going, okay, we've got these containers here that are plastic. We've got these ones that are glass. We've got this cookware. We've got these plates. We've got these glasses. We've got this barware. Because we had a whole wet bar things set up in Virginia. Never got to set up again. I found the box the other day, opened it up, and everything's still packed in the box, but it's all the stemware, all the glasses from the thing. I found the plastic bag that had like all the mixing stuff in it, and there's a cocktail shaker in there somewhere as well. So that's what I'm going to do. I made that decision. I thought when I saw that idea from Jason, I thought I can do it with all my kitchen stuff. I can do it with the bar stuff. I can do it with the dining stuff, all in one go. Come get it. This is the price. Come get it. It's gone. Still have to put my couches up there though, but haven't had any nibbles on anything else. My washer and dryer is going to go up this probably tonight or tomorrow, but it's going to have a caveat on it that there's a certain date that it has to be picked up on. It cannot be picked up before that date. It cannot be picked up after that date. It has to be on that day. So, yeah. Still trying to figure out how to get that one fixed. But we're going to get that up. I've taken all the photographs for it. So, but yeah. So that was my story for you for tonight. I do have some reflection questions for you, though. And I do have a legacy thingy for you as well. And it says, by sharing Zeffy's story and gifting her belongings with intention, So when you gift with intention, the legacy of her companionship lives on. Her spirit continues to connect people, creating a chain of kindness and a memory that stretches far beyond a single lifetime. Reflection questions. What story from your own life continues to teach or comfort you? How can sharing your story bring light or healing to someone else? What are meaningful ways to honor a loved one's memory? And how might giving forward something cherished expand their legacy? And I will tell you this, that paying it forward is a great way to honor somebody's legacy. Somebody out there needs to hear your story or part of it. They are going through something similar to something that you have been through a challenge that you have been through. They are feeling lost. They feel like they are the only person out there that is suffering from whatever it is. Be that person who tells their story that can help somebody going through a similar struggle to what you went through. Tell your story, because there is at least one person out there that needs to hear it. I don't know how many people get to hear my story as I tell them through all the podcasts and everything else, but I did get a Facebook message one time from about one of my podcasts, and the person thanked me for the story that I shared. I don't remember which one it was, but they were going through something similar and my story helped them. That makes doing this for the last 2,264 days worth every minute. When you get one person who you don't even know may turn around and say thank you for telling that part of your story because it helped me do blah, 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 blah. You never know who is listening. You never know who is watching, but somebody out there is going to click with something that you say, and it could be the piece that they need to help them through a struggle, help them turn their life around. You will have impact. Your story, when you do them, when you tell your story and you do your podcasts, write your books, write your blogs, your newsletters, whatever, that is something that is going to have an impact on somebody somewhere. You may never, ever, ever hear from them to say thank you. Occasionally, you might hear somebody who says, hey, thank you for telling that part of your story because it helped me or it inspired me. So tell your story. Don't be afraid to tell your story, because somebody out there needs to hear it. Whether you write your story, you vlog it, is that the right word? Yeah, blog it. There's so many new tools out there with AI that can help you take a video and chop it up into smaller pieces. So people get to hear just a snippet of your story from time to time, and then they start following you. There is a lot of stuff out there that will help you tell your story. So utilize those tools. But with that, our closing thought for this evening is stories like love never end. They simply change form, carried in laughter, in shared memories, and in the lives touched by their ripple. And with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we will catch you back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Oh, and I do have an announcement. Currently, Porchlight Letters newsletter is on hold, because with all the stuff coming up with the move and everything else, and the extra hours I'm putting in to get things done for that, I honestly have not had the time to put the newsletter together. So I apologize if people are expecting their newsletter and they haven't been getting it, but I just don't have the time. I'm on a time crunch to get my stuff sorted, ready for the movers to come in. And so every moment that I can get to do that, I'm doing it. So I apologize. I will get a newsletter out as soon as possible. I kind of had last week's one done, and then I got busy sorting stuff. So I apologize for that. But you might get a couple of days in a row when we catch up. I don't know. But with that, we're out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic